Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let's look at what Trump has to say in his inaugural speech, which is quite interesting. And I believe you and I are going to have quite a good time discussing what Trump is presenting to us.
Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices of the United States Supreme Court, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and my fellow citizens. The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
Trump goes on to speak about, first of all, following protocol, obviously acknowledging the other important people in the audience, and thereafter he goes on to mention that this is the beginning of the golden age. What is the golden age? And where does this thing come from? So the golden age comes from the Greek mythology, and it symbolizes a period of peace, harmony, stability, and prosperity. So what it implies is that now the USA is going to go through a phase of prosperity, and obviously it also touches a bit on the aspect of respect. When did the USA lose its respect to the other nations? Please comment down in the comments below and let's have a discussion on that. Let's see what else Trump has to say.
We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people.
This is quite interesting. US to give more attention to protecting its borders and not foreign borders. That is a very serious statement. If you look at it, here Trump hints at, first of all, how he's going to approach countries like Ukraine, how he's going to approach NATO, how he's going to approach other countries and nations, because here he's saying America comes first. This is a bold statement in indicating that America is going to be looked at as the first priority, and then other nations will come as second priorities. And to make the matters worse, for countries that want to propel war, that means that they are not going to get the funding that they want to propel that war. This is good. This is also good for African countries, because I think this statement also, hints to the fact that aid is going to be minimized, and the African nations have to step up their activities and step up their country management, rather than being highly dependent on aid. And this is going to support the African nations quite a lot to become more productive, more self-sufficient, and more productive.
Just a few months ago, in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
I like the fact that Trump does recognize that it was only by God's grace that he got saved. And this, politics aside, God is great. And any politician that can recognize the greatness of God, that is interesting and that is very good. And the fact that he recognizes God and wants God's presence in his ruling is very key, is very important in a nation where a lot of people are drifting away from religion, and they completely want to dump religion. And Trump is standing on the podium and mentioning God's name. This is interesting and wonderful to listen to.
The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
National energy emergency, drill, baby, drill. This is a famous phrase now that is running around all over the internet. Drill, baby, drip. As an energy expert, I'm quite interested in this statement because it means that most African countries have a stage at which they can also perform some of their the energy policies and energy activities that they could not because there was so much attention to going green. And countries like South Africa have been under pressure to shut down their coal plants, coal power plants, whereas there's no any other source. They cannot jump from starting to power their nation to going green instantly. And this is the biggest case for many African countries that are struggling, being forced to move from not even being developed, where most of the countries don't even have 50% electrified countries, but they must go green. So it's been a bit of a challenge, and this is a good statement. If we rely on that, this is quite interesting.
With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice.
The European Union has been pushing so that by the year 2030, all vehicles are electric vehicles or using some form of green fuel. Now, the challenge with that is that 2030 is just by the corner. It's not easy for all of us to move to electric vehicles. Africa, for that matter, still has an energy crisis where most of the countries still don't have the energy that they require or the power that they require. And it's also a challenge because what is going to happen now is that if we think we are moving to electric vehicles, we are not removing the carbon footprint. What we're basically doing is shifting that carbon footprint to mining. And mining is going to now be the space where all this carbon footprint is going to skyrocket up, because you need all that magnesium for the batteries, you need all that lithium for the batteries, you need all the minerals for the batteries to create and build more batteries. So it is not in itself a good thing that we can all go with electric vehicles. We just shift the carbon footprint into the mining sector.
This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's now official for the USA that the genders, male and female only. This is very interesting and it's very good for the US. Well, some of us have always known that the genders are only two, male and female. But again, for the US, you see, the definition of freedom must be confined. If freedom is not confined, then what happens is that when you have too many choices, you have nothing to choose. And there's a statement that too many choices leads to confusion. So the US, in terms of gender, went to confusion, went way beyond understanding these biological terms, which are truly two genders, male and female. You go to plants, you go to animals, it's the same, and there's no confusion about that. And I'm glad that finally somebody has to come up with this and speak about it openly and bring it into a policy scenario, because the US leads this confusion and then they force the other nations to follow along in the form of democracy, and then it ends up being chaotic in the whole world. For now, let's hope and believe that this is going to stay on forever for the US, despite the change in power between the Democrats and the Republicans. And we also hope that now the African leaders who were forced into accepting some of these gender fluidity misunderstandings can sit down and now change back that misunderstanding into the right understanding. So it's very critical for now that the US policy is no longer going to push that other agenda in the gender notion. I think you see what I mean, huh? All right, let's see what else Trump has to say.
This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay.
Yes, the COVID-19 was another issue that really bothered us. And that mandate was trying to force everyone to make it compulsory. And I do agree that Mr. Trump coming out to say that mandatory COVID-19 was wrong. It is true, it was wrong. And we hope that even in the next pandemic, nobody is going to force other people to have mandatory vaccinations. And it made people lose their jobs, which is not good. So we hope that this stays as it has been pronounced now.
Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families.
Wow, that's our last point there. Trump, the peacemaker. That is quite interesting. I think this is a big hint to how he's going to now look at the Ukraine-Russia war, the Israel-Hamas. And we do hope that this can be the beginning of a quiet and peaceful time, because what is needed is diplomacy. And we lost diplomacy. And for him to be a peacemaker, he has to bring the best negotiators he can to negotiate with Putin, to negotiate with Zelensky, and to negotiate with Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel and the leaders of Hamas, and come up with peaceful solutions for both the Israel-Hamas situation as well as the Russia-Ukraine. And let's not also forget the Yemen civil war, that there's supposed to be some intervention required there. And we do hope that peace may prevail. So to peace, I'm drinking coffee. Cheers to peace.